Hi everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. For today's video, I finally got my palette in the mail, and unfortunately with my setup, I'm not able to combine the video that I recorded of me putting all my eyeshadows in the palette. So unfortunately you're just going to see it all put together and everything else, but I will swatch some for this video because these shadows look amazing. So this is the palette in its full glory. So this is what I decided to come up with when I put my palette all together. There's I believe 3 pressed glitters, there are some matte shades, and then there are some metallic shades as well. I wouldn't say like shimmers, but definitely metallics. Like you can kind of see which ones would be very textured. So this is how I wanted to organize it, and it doesn't come with a mirror, unfortunately, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it would be kind of cool. And when I looked this palette up online before I purchased it, it showed, as you can see, how you could tell that they're individual shadows put in like a Z palette or a palette that you can kind of customize. It didn't show or state that you had to, like, the shadows came separate or that you had to put the shadows in themselves, but nonetheless it wasn't bad to do. I was just really shocked when I got the package. I was like, oh, I'm putting it all together. Okay, cool. Not a big deal. Filming the portion of me putting it together would have been awesome, but unfortunately I can't, so this is just what we're gonna do today. So like I said, we're gonna do some swatches, we're gonna do a tutorial, and we're just gonna review the whole palette as a whole. And this would be the second ColourPop palette that I have ever played around with. So it looks promising, it feels very heavy. I believe the palette was $40 or $45, somewhere in that ballpark, and I definitely think that it's worth the price. Just at first glance, how it feels, how it came all together, the amount of shadows that you get, it seems pretty promising, but I have not actually applied it to the eyes. Just I swatched it on the video that you're not going to be able to see. But nonetheless, we're going to jump into this video and we will get started. Okay, so I have my Marc Jacobs bronzer off to the side here so I can see, because there is no mirror in the palette. And because my package was, I guess, late, I didn't notice that it was late. I just order stuff and then it comes in when it comes in. But they sent me this little lippy. It's lippy sticks. Doesn't say, oh, it says new rolls. It's matte. I think it's red. I looked at it for a second and then put it back. But yeah, it's kind of plummy. So I guess we can kind of go ahead and use this too for the look. If it seems like it, you know, if I can put it in there, I will. This is the shade. Looks pretty nice. It says it's matte. So I've already done my base off camera as well as eyebrows. I think I'm going to put a little bit more of my P. Louise base on, and then we're going to go ahead and play with the shadows. Alright, so I quickly applied my P. Louise base to the rest of my eye just to get a good base going. So looking at the palette, I don't know, I want to do something with the blues. I really love cobalt blue shades. It's one of my favorite colors. I don't know. Okay, so I really want to play around with this shade here in the bottom, but I like this shade. This shade looks like a pressed glitter, but it's not. I don't know. Oh my god, there's so many options. Okay, so what I think I'm going to do is I want to use as many shades as I possibly can, but I want to create a look that's going to work. So I'm thinking I'm going to use this mint green shade right up top here. It is called Looking Fresh. It is a matte shade. I'm going to kind of wash that all over the crease and just start creating a base is what I will do. It's going to be very light. In the video that I'm not going to post, I already swatched everything. I said the names. It's going to be really hard to kind of look back at the palette and tell you all the shade names, typically if I ever use it, but as of right now, I will pop this shadow out and I will tell you what it is so you can kind of get an idea, because it's very frustrating when the palette doesn't have shade names in the front. But with how the palette is put together, it's supposed to have the individual shadows just like that, and that's just how it is. It's not just like a Morphe palette or a KKW palette where the shadows are deliberately not on the front and there is clearly space. But yeah, so I'm just gonna throw this mint shade right here, try to press it and pack it on just to have that nice little hue of a color. And I think what I will do next is I'm gonna take the blue shade right next to it, actually I'm gonna take this yellow shade. So I'm gonna kind of go on top, just on the outer edge of a green. Okay, now that I've got this base done, what I'm going to do is do the same thing to the other side, take that mint shade, and I'm just gonna press it on the outer and inner part of my eye, and then just buff it into the crease, and then still take that yellow shade on the outside, just to give a little bit of the soft pastel mint color like I did on the other side. And that's how I think I'm gonna start this up. I don't know, I really wanna use that blue, but then there's the pressed glitter. I don't know, there's so many things you can do with this palette. But already the shadows are performing quite nice. So now that I've got this going, I think what I want to do, I'm going to take this deep blue shade right here, and this shade is called Fine China. It is a matte shade. So I'm gonna take that same brush, and I forgot to mention, I'm using my Morphe 330 brush here. Take that blue shade, and then I'm just gonna work it into the crease, right where that mint shade is. And then I think I'm gonna cut the crease and try to plant that blue somewhere. Or maybe even a yellow. I don't know, there is that pressed glitter. And then there also is that metallic green in the palette. I don't know, we'll see. So I'm just gonna take this shade here and just kind of buff it into this crease. I'm gonna avoid my lid though. That's what I'm gonna do. These shadows, this shadow did not look like what I thought it was gonna look like from the pan to my lid, but it is blending with the other shades that I have on my lid. So same thing the other side, take that shadow and just keep it kind of concentrated on the crease. So I really am in love with the way that this palette looks though. And I've never seen a full-size palette from ColourPop before. But this, it just feels heavy, it just feels worth the money. And as of right now, the shadows are just perfect. But yeah. So I'm just gonna hurry up and buff this in. So now that I've got that done, I'm gonna take my P. Louise base and I'm gonna cut my crease. I think I'm gonna use this metallic green shade, but I don't know, I'm still playing around with it as I go. So we're just gonna go ahead and cut the crease. Okay, now that I've cut my crease, I'm actually kind of in love with the way that this looks. It's not what I thought it would look like, but I'm kind of feeling it. I'm gonna take this pressed glitter right here, and I'm not gonna use a glitter glue. I wanna see how it'll stick to the P. Louise base. I'm just gonna move it around a little bit. And I'm just gonna pack it on the center of the lid. I would highly recommend a glitter glue though. It'll definitely work a lot better. But yeah, so I'm going to take the yellow pressed glitter. It is in the shade Palooza. And I'm just going to pack it with my JH42 brush right here, just in the center. Okay, so now that I've got the pressed glitter on the center, I think I'm just going to take that pressed green glitter in the shade Fire, but they spell it with a Y, so F-Y-R-E. I'm going to take that on the same brush and pack it just on the outside of that yellow. This green pressed glitter seems a little different than the other, which is kind of cool. And I think I'm going to go into this orange one after. But take that green to the other side as well. Like this, the green feels just like more finely pressed and not as chunky. But nonetheless, I think this is working quite well without a glitter glue. but the P. Louise base that I use is quite tacky, so. And then I'm gonna take this other pressed glitter. It's the orangey kind of one called Bama Mama. Yeah, Bama Mama? Wait, is it right? Bambaya? I don't know how to pronounce it, I was wrong. So I'm just gonna take that same brush, press it into that orange, and then take it to the outer part of my eye, and just kind of work it in. These colors are really, really pretty. I'm definitely feeling these. Be very cautious though when you use pressed glitters on the eye. So I'm just going to kind of take this, the inner part, take it and press it on the outside, and then same thing on the other side. If I used a glitter glue, this would look like on the inner parts where I didn't put as much of my base, be a little bit more vibrant, but I think this works for kind of what I want. And then I'm just gonna take the shade Sunkissed. It is a matte orange right here, the matte orange in the palette. Take it on the same brush, just a little bit, and I'm gonna press it right where that orange was, just to see if I can get it, like just to fill in the spots where the glitter isn't picking up, just because I don't want to use a glitter glue, because the base that I have on is tacky enough for that to work. Pack it on the other side here. Perfect. So then I'm gonna take my JH32 brush right here, and I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dive into this, blue shade right here. And I'm just gonna build it up on the bottom. Actually, I'm gonna switch brushes. I'm gonna take my Morphe 330 brush. I'm just gonna take it to the under part of my eye. So I want it kind of blown out a little, like right here. Same thing. Take it just on the outer part. And then I'm just going to take the yellow shade in the palette, which I said before, which actually, I don't know if I said before, it's called Sweet Pie. So that yellow shade here, same brush, and then I'm going to take it to the center part, make it kind of green. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and put some liner and some mascara on, and maybe some lashes, and we'll come back and we'll see how this looks all together. Alright everybody, this is the final look with the eyes. I did some mascara and put on some tail end lashes, and I think this actually came out quite awesome, very 60s. I took my Wet n Wild, it's my eye pencil in Sapphire and Ice, just to line the bottom waterline. Instead of doing a black, I figured it would be kind of cool to have that blue-green pattern kind of throughout. So we're just gonna dive in. So we're gonna dive into the lip, which is also ColourPop, just to kind of keep with the theme, and since they sent it with the palette, that's perfect. So I'm just gonna dive into my ColourPop lippy that came with the palette for being late. So I'm not gonna line my lips, this seems okay. So it does feel pretty matte though. This could actually work with the look, but here we go. Okay, now that I've got the lip on, I'm just going to take my Kylie lip gloss in Snatched and just make it a little bit more glossy. Alright guys, this is the final look with the lip added on and lashes added and everything like that. I actually am quite pleased with how it looked. I wasn't sure what look I was going to go for. But I really did like it. I think the only thing that would suck about the palette though is once you run out of the pressed glitters. I don't know if you can order them or not. I didn't look that up or anything, so don't quote me. Don't quote me on that, but it would have been nice if there was a mirror in the palette, but nonetheless it's still okay. Typically, even as a freelance artist, when I'm doing makeup, I'm just diving into the palette, looking at colors, not necessarily the color names, because that's not really what you're focusing on. You're just focusing on the pigment and, you know, your product. You don't really care what it looks like. So I think it's still very cool. I wonder if I could purchase the individual shadows, although I don't have too much experience with ColourPop other than the Honey palette that I did a review on, but I like the way the shadows perform. I like that it feels very heavy. It just feels like I spent a lot of money on this. Like, it just feels heavy, and I love weighted palettes. I don't know. But I will swatch a few that I really did want to show off. The shade here that I didn't use, it is a metallic shadow called Right Tempo. It's this blue. It looks glittery, but it's not. It just looks very, very cool. Let's see if I can do it right here. Like, it just looks so nice. This one and the green shadow that I did not use as well, that I thought about using, called Mary Jane. It's a metallic, of course. So right underneath that blue shade. Like, they're just so pretty. And then there's also this metallic, I think it's metallic. Yes, it's called So Meta. It's this kind of like yellowish yellow tone here. And then there is this iridescent pinkish purple violet-y kind of color called Hold Me Down. It is metallic. It's very sheer though, but you can see, my hair's in the way. You can see kind of reflex of other colors. It looks really cool. This one, and then lastly, it is this, oh actually no, not lastly. This one's called Do or Dough, and it is a metallic shade. It's in the purple family in this palette. Oh my gosh, it just wants to stick. This one right here looks pretty cool. Just kind of deeper than the previous one. And then there's this other one, which is my favorite one in the palette, called Tide Pool. It's also a metallic. It's a little bit more cobalty and true blue. So pretty. This is really cool. But those ones I think are the most interesting ones to look at, as opposed to all the matte shades, because they're going to come off a little bit like powdery, as opposed to the metallics, which have a little bit more oil in them, I'd imagine, or something to kind of get them to glide better so they look more aesthetically pleasing. But nonetheless, swatching the shadows in the palette, or any palette for that matter, is not going to show you its performance truly on the eyes. You have to actually play around with them before you can actually judge. But it's so cool to look at, and I love swatching. So these are really cool. I'm very pleased with this palette, and the lip for that matter. I don't know if I typically, if I would combo this lip with the eyes, typically I would go lighter on the lip, darker with the eyes, or bold, or vice versa. But still, if you're just trying to go loud and proud, this is a perfect combo. Actually, I actually really do like the way that this matte feels. So this is awesome. The palette is awesome. It is worth the buy. Other than that, I really did like this palette. I hope you guys do too. I would definitely highly recommend it. But I'm just curious about if I can still order the individual shadows, or if I run out of the glitter, you know, that kind of thing, if I can still do that, which I'm pretty sure you could. It seems like a refillable palette, but I would say do your research. I don't know, but this is pretty cool. I actually really like this palette. And I think, pro tip, it's also made in the USA. I don't know if all of ColourPop's palettes or products are, but it is. It's also cruelty-free as well, which is just a bonus. But other than that, guys, I hope to see you guys in the next video, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment, like, and subscribe if you want to support me and my channel, or if you just enjoy my content and want to see more videos from me. I appreciate it. So see you guys in the next one.